Unsuccessful author Mike Enslin, John Cusack, writes books debunking places that claim to be paranormal. He eventually receives a note stating to not go to a certain room in the Dolphin Hotel in New York, room 1408. Wanting a challenge, he heads there and demands to be put in room 1408, despite the deterrence from the hotel manager, Samuel L. Jackson, and the claims of 56 deaths in said room. However, Enslin doesn't believe it and decides to stay in room 1408 anyway. To me, I think this is The Shining, but done right, in a weird way. Mainly because it deals with the themes and overall story of the Shining novel more so than Kubrick's film. However, it's a guy by himself in one room rather than a man with his family in an entire hotel. It's a pretty damn good horror movie, though, and pretty underrated. Better than it has any right to be. John Cusack is excellent, and it's probably one of his best modern performances. Dealing with the death of his daughter in the film, with her death happening before the events of the movie, and being this unsuccessful, downtrodden author with no real purpose in life other than his work that barely gets him any money. It's a great and interesting character. Despite Samuel L. Jackson getting top billing, he's barely in the movie. He was in the very beginning and the very end of an alternate ending to the film. Despite this, good performance from Jackson. I like the story a lot because of how intriguing it is in its simplicity. Just a guy trapped in his hotel room and has to survive 1 hour of horror. What makes this so good, though, is that it adds to the original story, but in a good way. It is just as hard to write an adaptation of a short story because, unlike a regular novel where you have to cut some stuff out to get a succinct story that's digestible for a movie going audience, you have to add new things to the story that might not be worthwhile. Some evident in previous reviews, but for 1408, it really works, and really well. It expanded upon the torture that Enslin was going through in the room and how he becomes more and more insane, similar to Jack Torrance in The Shining. Meanwhile, in the short story, his stay in room 1408 is not very long. However, his scars are much more apparent. There are more ways the room tools with him and in very creepy and psychological ways. I also like how they state it's not even a haunted room, that it's definitely not paranormal. It's something else entirely, making it all the creepier. It's not a perfect movie, as there are some cheap special effects and some jump scares, but I do like the things that are added from the short story, which is even more simplistic than the film. I like the added backstory, even though it's been done before. The most ironic thing about this film is, though, is that all the religious bad-mouthing in the movie, which is a big staple of Stephen King due to him being a hardcore atheist, isn't even in the short story, which is definitely chuckle-worthy. Overall, this is a pretty great movie in my eyes. The story was so simple yet effective, and the performance is great from Cusack, since the movie is riding on his shoulders. Awesome movie? Check it out.